May the words of my mouth and the meditations of all of our hearts be acceptable in your sight, O Lord, our strength and our Redeemer. Amen. A Korean series on Netflix is called Crash Landing on You. It's become wildly popular in Asia and all around the world. Billions of people literally have seen this series about a glamorous South Korean influencer. Se-ri from Seoul has a snappy comeback to anything that is thrown at her, and she has just the right stylish purse and shoes. One day, on a photo shoot in the mountains, Se-ri's hang glider gets caught up in a whirling tornado, and she lands in a tree on the North Korean side of the DMZ. The story unfolds, and we watch her from being a spunky corporate princess one day to finding herself in this whole different world the next day. In her panic, she climbs out of the tree and starts to run. Soldiers are hunting her down. She gets to a fork in the road. She doesn't know which way to turn, and she makes a wrong choice. She thinks she can't get out of South Korea. She finds herself in a small village, a local village, and you wonder, how will this spoiled beauty cope in a simpler world where there is no internet, no worldly goods? At first, life seems grim in North Korea with regular blackouts and the dreaded state security. But the people of the village are good-hearted, and this comedy melodrama has a theme of love which transcends boundaries. Today in the Gospel of John, Jesus says, "I am the good shepherd," not just for people like us, the people we know, but I am the good shepherd for the whole world. He guides us with benevolence, and we are like sheep. And it's not flattering to be compared to sheep. Sheep are not brilliant creatures. If you leave a sheep without a shepherd, he nibbles a little bit of grass here, wanders over there for some more, sees a patch that's just beyond that rock, and before you know it, the sheep is lost or has fallen into a ravine or is devoured by a wolf. Yes, we are like sheep, easily distracted, easily lost. It doesn't take much for us to find ourselves in a situation like the one Se-ri found herself in. When you're marooned by a tornado in your life and you find yourself in the DMZ or in Oz, how do you get out? We need a good shepherd to show us the way. But why is the shepherd good? Because he is not volatile, he does not betray. Instead, he was faithful. He speaks truthfully. The Good Shepherd leads us beside still waters, where we drink those life-giving waters, a place where we can pause and reflect before we act. The Good Shepherd calls us to higher principles, such as loving our neighbors as much as we care for ourselves. And the Good Shepherd promises never to abandon us. When we feel stuck, it's much easier for us to sink down to the lowest common denominator and lash out in vengeance. That's our amygdala in our brain that reacts. But we have choices. We can make a choice to practice another way, something else. Making the choice to follow Jesus Christ is challenging. First, you have to discern whether you are called to follow this path. And then you have to start practicing a Christian life. In order to reap the benefits, you have to leap before you can reap. It helps us enormously to learn to pray the way that Jesus prayed, to be a healer the way he healed, to share the great news that we are God's beloved community. Each Sunday, by coming to church, whether online or in person, we pause to remember how Jesus lived. He lived by giving thanks, breaking bread with his friends, by washing their feet. And so we too cohere around Jesus as he does these things, not just as sheep, but as his friends. And when we take that risk of faith and begin to trust the Good Shepherd, we find that we too can be strong and faithful, solid and loving, the way he was. Following the Good Shepherd needs to become a regular practice for us, and it starts with Jesus as the gate to our new life at baptism. And it develops into a relationship with a leader who lays down his life for us, for the sheep. We always have the choice of turning around and going back to that old life that we left behind. The modern-day Korean princess, Se-ri, could go back to that old life that she left. A petulant, selfish life, a life that was just about me. How do I look? What do people think of me? Or will Se-ri make a different choice? Will she choose to grow into a new life where she can use her leadership gifts for the greater good to bring people together? We really do have the power of choice to live into something holier, something more joyful, a life based on loving God before all else and loving other people abundantly. It's got to be a conscious choice. Sometimes we get hung up in that tree. We start thinking about whether someone deserves to be helped or someone deserves to be loved. Or does someone else deserve to live? For example, in cases of police shootings of innocent victims, especially people of color, you hear that a lot. Oh, he took drugs, or he was a rascal. Didn't he deserve it? But no one deserves to be murdered. Everyone deserves an equal chance. Did George Floyd deserve to be murdered? No, of course not. It was wrong. It's God's job to give life and to take life away, not ours. To quote Thomas Merton, the spiritual writer and Roman Catholic monk, our job is to love others without stopping to inquire whether they are worthy. So for us, that means we still need to love our husbands and wives, our children and parents, even when we're furious with them. Loving doesn't mean being a doormat, of course. It means praying for them and for ourselves. This is hard stuff. It takes courage to be a Christian. But we're so blessed because the shepherd lays out a path for us of health and wholeness with one overarching mandate: to love. To love, it means to live and to cause others to live. To receive love again and again, despite our unworthiness. And to communicate that love to others who are, like us, poor in spirit. Love is never satisfied with words, ideas, or feelings. It's touched by the raw misery it sees, which disturbs it. And this is why Jesus never shrinks from reaching out and touching the suffering and giving his healing. So the world offers us many paths, many directions we could follow. But my question to you this morning is this: if you are a believer in Jesus as the Good Shepherd, how are you allowing that belief to help you transcend any situation of death in your life? How are we as a faith community working towards breathing new life into our surrounding communities? So the Christian is the one who enters situations where God seems to be absent and declares that our source of life and love, our God, is alive and present. I invite us to make a choice to follow the way that gives new life. The way of Jesus has resurrection power. It's sad when we sell our faith out to our children, making them believe that God's like some kind of insurance package, only there when things fall apart. No, the Spirit is always with us. God is there all the time, leading us and walking beside us. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. When we follow Jesus, we don't need anything else. Think of his life-giving power, the energy that transforms how we think and act. Artificial borders vanish. People are reunited. North and South come together. Black and white are one. We are the people who go beyond death and declare new life in all kinds of situations. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, you are with me. My sisters and brothers, we are the people who believe that Christ is the shepherd leading us into new life. Amen.